It is both a well-known fact and also a bit of a meme that Superman has a thing for ladies with the initials LL. And some even like to joke that it extends beyond that. I see you, Lex, choosing to go by Lex instead of Alex or Alexander. Sometimes in the old panels where they talk about this LL thing and how those people impact his life, they also put Lightning Lad there. Now, in terms of the double L's of Superman's life, some are more well-known. Lois Lane, Lana Lang. These days, time of recording, even Lori Lemaris is getting a bit more play. But there are still some pretty obscure Superman love interests out there. So many that can be hard to choose. So I put it to a vote. Over on the membership tab on YouTube and on Kofi, we got to decide between 3 love interests for Superman. And one of them was a bit of a wild card, because after 10 days, the winner was Sally Selwyn. That's right, SS. Just beating out Lydia Lawrence and Luma Lanai. Another time, ladies. It's probably because she's bucking the trend, but she has an SS name, so we already know that this romance is doomed. Side note, we'll be doing more votes in the members section. The next one should be up by the time this video goes live. But we definitely have to set some time aside for Sally and her truly tragic story. Set phasers to depressed. I'm Sasha, this is Casually Comics, and it's time for one of the more devastating outings of the Silver Age when it comes to romance for Superman. So Sally is a Silver Age creation. She appeared in 2 stories. The first from Superman 165 from 1963, so firm Silver Age. Ignore him getting a lion head again on the cover. Yes, Superman has got a lion head more than once. The story we're looking for is the second story from this issue, The Sweetheart That Superman Forgot. It's written by Jerry Siegel, who if you've been following for a while, you know has some out-of-pocket, sometimes romance stories. And the art for this is by Plastino, who may reveal himself in some of these panels to be a man of culture. And right from the teaser, you know that we're in for an entertaining time.
Turn it off. How do you think I feel seeing that TV newsreel of mighty Superman in action? Me, a broken cripple. You've got beauty, wealth. Why do you want to marry someone like me?
Because, Jim, I love you. What's this? Superman suffering from amnesia and no longer possessing superpowers, envying himself while in another identity, completely unaware that in his forgotten past, he was the Man of Steel.
This story promises to be super ironic.
I'm so glad this one. It's also a stealth Red K story. Well, not stealth if you looked at the cover, but based on that teaser, surprise Red K. Superman stops an object from colliding with a satellite in space. We're getting started. And then he starts to feel all tingly, and he knows that that's the symbol of red kryptonite. That's a symptom. First the tingles, then whatever happens next. So he goes to hunker down because anything could happen.
I'd better fly to my fortress on Earth quickly. I'll hide out there until the effect of this red kryptonite wears off. I wonder what strange reaction will work on me this time. It never works twice the same way on any super being. It always wears off within 48 hours.
Wasn't it nice of them to give us the rules, just in case you knew? No, it's not. It's a cruel lie, because a few panels later, they're gonna change them. Suddenly, Clark feels compelled to land and take off his clothes and bury his Superman clothes and change back into Clark moments afterwards.
There, I buried the Superman costume, my wallet, and my initialed handkerchief. Red K once gave me amnesia, another time made me lose my superpowers, so I don't have to worry about those effects.
That's what you think, Clark. I'm the writer and I'm changing the rules. This is both an amnesia story and a Superman losing his powers story. But how could this be? They just explained that that's not how Red K works. Well, that's how it works this issue, just cuz.
Who am I? What am I doing here? I can't remember anything.
Clark doesn't know it, but the form of red kryptonite he's been exposed to is a freak type, which repeats past effects and does not wear off for weeks.
That's just cheating.
It's now lost, dehydrated, amnesiac. Clark stumbles upon a farm, and he asks what he assumes is a stable boy milking a cow for some milk.
He needs some milk!
Only, la gasp.
Why, you're not a boy, you're a girl. A very pretty girl.
Thanks for the compliment. Here, have some milk.
It was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
That ladle placement. It's hard to imagine that ladle placement was made in innocence. It feels like a way to slip some little subversive humor past the code. It's right there. Am I in the gutter? What do you think? Clark passes out, because what he could probably really have used is some water, but he's taken in by this kind woman, Sally Selwyn. Her father happens to be a millionaire, but he's a self-made millionaire, so he knows what it's like to be down on his luck, so he's happy to take in this stranger. Now, one of the more interesting parts of this issue is there are several dream sequences where Clark has these nightmares. This is his mind struggles to work out that he's forgotten that he's Superman. So there are things where he's wearing the colors of Superman, or doing kind of Superman things, but they're also slightly off. That evening, Jim is tormented by another nightmare.
Green and red rocks closing in on me from all directions. trapped. There's no escape. I'm doomed.
And as he awakens in a cold sweat.
What a strange dream. Why should I have been frightened by green and red rocks?
What Jim doesn't realize is that the rocks symbolize green and red kryptonite. Always a menace to Superman. The way the story handles his memories kind of trying to fight their way to the surface, it's interesting and pretty well done. Like how he names himself Jim White, a combination of Jimmy Olsen and Perry White's names, his friends that he remembers subconsciously. But then the story will also do things like go out of its way to tell you that Superman's never used an electric shaver before.
How does the thing work?
I'll demonstrate, sir. Odd, he doesn't know how to handle an electric shaver. Of course not. As Superman, Jim never shaved, for his hair couldn't grow in Earth's atmosphere. This is Clark's version of brushing his hair with a fork. Now, despite not remembering anything, Clark, or Jim, proves to be a heroic and honest man. He puts himself in harm's way, he manages to save some assets on the farm, and all of this is just making Sally fall in love with him. He was a stray that she took in, and he was hurt, and she can fix him. But Superman was not ready for probably one of the most dastardly villains I've read in one of these stories, Bart Benson. He works at the lumber yard, and he's jealous of Jim because he wants to marry Sally for her money, and he assumes that that's why Jim must be there. I saw how Miss Sally looked at White. She's sweet on him, but he's not kidding me. He's as much after her dough as I am. Speed up there. Bart decides that he'll make Jim quit. Make it so hard, but everything but everything he attempts just makes him look better, and Sally loved Jim even more. Jim is kind as well as manly. I like that. Even when Bart gets Clark to fall off a log because he can't ride one, because he never has before, Sally still wants to go to the dance with him. He's so cute and manly and helpless and kind. She can't take it.
What a fine girl. The attempt of Bart to humiliate me backfired against him. I'd like to take her, but I don't remember how to dance. I can't dance.
It's simple. I'll teach you this afternoon. I love Sally's dress at the dance. They also win a certificate for $50 too, which is a lot. So by this point in the story, Bart is low-key stalking them because he wants her millions, even though by this point it's quite clear that she wants nothing to do with him. That night, her and Jim kiss. And this is the Silver Age, so the code is strong, which means he wants to propose marriage. But he feels he's not worthy. He has so little, and she has so much. I love you too. As for money, that's no problem. See those woods, the oil wells, and the farmland? Everything the moon touches, they belong to Dad. When he retires soon, he'll need someone like you to run things.
Thanks, Sally, but I want to build my own future without help. Maybe you're good luck for me. I hear they're having a rodeo contest in town tomorrow. Whoever stays the longest on Black Terror, a wild bronco, will win $5,000. I'll enter that contest.
Now, since Bart is just there stalking them, he drugs this horse with something called loco weed to make it wild. And so it throws Jim Clark, and it seems like he's paralyzed. But Sally doesn't care. She still loves him. Several days later in the Selwyn mansion, after Jim has been released from the hospital. Isn't it time we set the wedding date, Jim?
Don't you understand? The doctor said I may be crippled for life. Forget about me.
Never. There's a 50-50 chance a certain European surgeon can cure you. Whether you ever walk again or not, I love you, Jim. Nothing can change that. Please marry me right away.
I won't let you make such a sacrifice. I can't stand pity.
Bart outside, chuckling. Pity has nothing to do with it. I love you, darling. Please think it over, then tell me your decision.
All right, Sally.
How heartbreaking.
At this point, Bart's just a monster. He's just doing this to mess with them. He knows he has no chance.
Then, as Jim wheels himself toward a secluded spot. Hello, White. How does it feel to be only half a man?
Not so good, eh? Why not marry Sally for her money? Maybe if you play on her sympathy enough.
You just heard that Bart!
Your brain is sicker than my body. Get away from me.
The sad thing, though, is that in his head, Clark agrees with him. He thinks that Sally can't really love him. Meanwhile, Bart is planning to scare him. This by kicking a boulder down so it goes right past him, you know? It's just a prank, bro. Only he misses, and it hits Clark's wheelchair and sends him careening off a cliff. So Sally is left thinking that not only is Jim dead, but that he killed himself because he didn't believe that she loved him. She feels this is her fault, and even as she's there sobbing about how if only he believed her, her own dad is like, well, were you marrying him out of pity? There, Sally. I know how grief-stricken you feel now, but you'll get over it, dear. Time heals all wounds. No, it doesn't. I loved him with all my heart. And later, when Sally is alone, this picture someone took of us at the dance. All I have to remember him by. Why did you do this, Jim? Why didn't you believe me? I'll never love anyone else till the day I die. That's a great photo of the two of them. Jimmy better look out. As for Clark, he survived because Aquaman happened to be patrolling by and just saw his body falling into the water. Recognized that was Superman and grabbed and brought him to Lori Lemaris, his telepathic mermaid ex-girlfriend. She does nurse him back to health, but tragedy, Clark doesn't remember any of his time as Jim. He just knows that he was out there on Red K doing something. So he leaves. When he goes back to work, he laments that he wishes he had a girl to love him for himself, because this story hasn't hurt us enough.
Anyway, I'm always afraid girls don't love me for myself, are merely dazzled by my fame and superpowers. I wonder how it would feel to be really loved for myself. I guess I'll never know.
Strange, isn't it? Superman doesn't know that a girl exists whom he once loved and that she still loves him for himself alone.
It would be nice if there were such a girl. No such luck. Jim, I love you. I'll never die.
Will the paths of Superman and Sally ever cross again? Does fate have an even more bittersweet destiny in store for these two? So this story is actually a pretty compelling little melodrama. It does play into some of the deep-seated fears that Clark has about love and relationships in a unique way. And there is that tragic element that he does find someone to love him for himself, only he doesn't know. And there's also that added layer of while it's happening, when he doesn't remember being Superman, he doesn't believe it. There's this question about how worthy he feels, either as Clark or as Superman, that could explore. One doesn't have to, but it's just interesting to think about. And poor Sally, who just loves this man and has her life derailed, not just by circumstances, but by all these secret machinations of people around her. She'll never love again. No, she really won't. I had to know, what did other people think about this? To the letters column and get hype, because we have one for someone who ends up working for DC. We have one from E. Nelson Bridwell, who would eventually go on to work for DC and be obsessed with canon and making things align with each other. Did a lot of work with Super Friends, a whole bunch of things. Here he is writing in about Sally in a letter from issue 167. Dear editor, you've got another winner in the Sweetheart Superman Forgot. I note that you used a switch by putting the double L in the middle of Sally's name. This story deserves a sequel, but I hope you won't carry it too far. Lori the Mermaid was only good for 2 stories before she became just another supporting character. Shots fired at Lori Lemaris. Also, do you feel that Sally counts as a double L because there are 2 L's in her name? They're not initials, but does it count? Now I'm thinking about it. I love that. This letter is making us think. We also have, Dear Editor, Superman's slipping. On the last page of the story, The Sweetheart That Superman Forgot, Clark Kent says, I wonder how it would feel to be really loved for myself. I guess I'll never know. What about Lila Laryl, the glamorous Kryptonian movie star who fell in love with an extra in one of her pictures, Kal-El by name? However, I forgive all of you if you promise to bring Sally Selwyn back again. K. Bungard. And we have a reply from the editor that's actually not too salty. We guess Lila Laryl was the original Sweetheart Superman Forgot. Praise for this story of Sally Selwyn's hopeless love for Clark Kent was unanimous. Incidentally, it was written by Jerry Siegel, who also authored the popular Lila Laryl novel. Jerry, who seems to be winning all the Oscars in the romance department, promises us an early sequel, which will see Clark and Sally reunited in pain. For there was indeed a sequel, and things don't get any better for Sally. In fact, you could say they arguably get worse, and for that we have to look at Superman 169, the man who stole Superman's secret life. Same creative team, let's go. Bart's not in this story. Who knows what happened to him? Nothing good. All my homies hate Bart.
That man down there, he looks exactly like Clark Kent, my secret identity. I don't know what this is all about, but I have a premonition that once I learn the answer, I'll never be quite the same again.
By popular demand, here is the sequel to The Sweetheart Superman Forgot, for which thousands of readers have been clamoring. It features Sally Selwyn, the one girl who ever loved Clark Kent for himself. Hold on. This comic is saying that the others don't love Superman for himself. Just right there, blatantly in that teaser. For himself, not because he was secretly the Man of Steel. And it co-features Ned Barnes as the man who stole Superman's secret life. I love how they put that there. Like, you're supposed to know who Ned Barnes is when this is his first appearance. The story opens with Superman going and asking to take some pictures of this spaceship. Its inner workings, but they're supposed to be top secret. Shh. But the officer on duty lets him in because it's Superman. However, on the way out, Superman bangs his arm and says, ow. Imposter. Brilliant deduction. Now to get away with these valuable photographs and sell them to the highest bidder. But who is this man who looks like Superman? As he changes into a very Clark Kent looking disguise. This is Ned Barnes, and he was a super fan of Superboy. He grew up in Smallville, and one day he had a terrible accident. He was in a fire and his whole face got burnt. He needed reconstructive surgery. I can restore your face with plastic surgery, Ned, but if you'd like any changes made in your features, please make me look like Superboy, Doctor. He's everything I'd like to be. Please, please. This seems like the kind of thing the Doctor should have said no to, but he said yes. And now, as a man, Ned hates Superman because... we'll get there. There's a dramatic reveal later. Get excited. Ned's flight from the authorities takes him to where Sally lives. And this surgeon did great work because she thinks that that's Jim and he's alive. Jim White, you're alive. Alive, darling. You've come back to me. Oh, this is wonderful. I'd given up all hope. Look, police car. They're probably searching for me. I won't argue with this cute gal, or they're liable to stop and question me. Ned has no idea what's going on, but thankfully Sally monologues everything that happened. So he's got some good groundwork for when he goes and pretends to be her fiance. You must have gotten amnesia after the water swept you away. The shock of it all probably cured your paralysis. That's how paralysis works. Come home with me. Dad'll be delighted too. We'll get married soon. It'll be a good place to hide out until the heat's off. Besides, she isn't hard to take. I wonder who this Jim White guy was she got mixed up with. The story then recaps 165 for those who were not there. And then we get to see Ned settle into being Jim fairly easily. So that means it's time for Clark to enter this story. He becomes aware of the Superman imposter and goes off to investigate that, which brings him into the same area where Ned is. But now there needs to be a reason for them to cross paths. He ends up sticking around because Sally has horses on the farm and Perry White is looking for a horse they can name Daily Planet to run the races that'll win. It's not even a B plot, it's a D plot. It's a giving a reason for Clark to hang around detail. Meanwhile, Ned is getting jealous of Jim and also has some Superman issues. Later that day during a hayride, looks like he's right on top of her. You think Superman's pretty terrific, don't you? I'll bet you'd like to marry him like every other girl in America dreams. The girl who becomes his bride will be very lucky, but Superman's not for me. You're the man I love. I love only you, darling. I'm so happy. Kind of envy this Jim White guy at that. But I mustn't forget I'm not him and that I'm going to beat it once the heat's off. But not before I make out with this woman on this hayride. You see, at this point, I thought I had a handle on where the story was going, based on my knowledge of Silver Age's romance. However, I was not ready. Now, Ned later snaps at Sally when she's trying to help him clean some stuff up in his room because she's touching his secret Superman costume, the one he does to commit crimes, looking like Superman. He actually makes her cry and then storms out. But Sally decides that this is her fault. I'm just as much to blame as Jim. I hope he doesn't think I'd be a bossy wife. I better find him and say I'm sorry.
It's a certified Silver Age moment.
It belongs to its time. The real reason it's happening is because we need Sally to get out of the house to have her bump into Clark. And when she finds him, she's desperate to apologize to Jim, and so she grabs him and kisses him. But when she kisses Clark, he remembers being Jim. Am I imagining it, or is this kiss more like the kisses Jim and I shared before his disappearance? Lately, Jim hasn't been quite the same, but now he's making my senses swim like he used to.
The kiss from this beautiful stranger is thrilling, but is she a stranger?
Clark's like, I remember something about milk. Now, Clark remembers Sally and being Jim, and he's thrilled to finally have a woman not trying to blackmail him because she thinks he's Superman. Truly, this is a good day. With Sally in his arms, Clark recalls his lost love for her. Jim's kissing me again. I love him so.
Sally, Sally. To think that all along I've had the love of a beautiful girl who loves me for myself alone, not just for my fame as Superman, and amazingly, I didn't know it until now.
But Clark also realizes that if she's there making up for a fight with Jim, that his lookalike must be around. And he's conflicted, because if she thinks that Ned is Jim, and he has Jim arrested, it'll break her heart. Also, then how can he pretend to be Jim? So he does what any sensible person does when faced with a dilemma. He takes a nap, and he dreams. These stories have great dreams. Superman says he's marrying Sally because he knows she loves him for himself, not his fame. But I've always loved him that way too, Lana. So have I, Lois, but he didn't believe me either. Awakening, Clark comes to a decision.
I'll marry her. Why not? I love her and she loves me. And I may never again find a girl who truly loves me for myself. But first I'll change to Superman and have a showdown with that phony who broke the law disguised as me and is now stealing my girl. Then Barnes stealing his girl. Mr. Steal your girl.
I also noticed that in this dream, despite what he's thinking, he's marrying her as Superman. So is this another Lori Lemaris situation? Where either he'd be willing to tell her that he's Superman or give up being Superman for her? Or both? Because when it came to Lori, he was willing to do that.
The Lori relationship was really serious. Before she
married another man, her doctor, who she fell in love with. In the Silver Age, if a girl's not scheming around Clark or Superman, it increases how much he likes her so much, which understandable. But it also makes the whole romance between him and Lois and Lana come across in a very different light. Swimming just beneath the surface is a lot of unmined psychology. Now, Ned is also having some second thoughts. He's feeling some guilt. Meanwhile, at a cliff on the Selwyn estate, Ned too has come to a decision. I'm no angel, but I don't want to keep fooling that sweet girl into thinking I'm her long-lost boyfriend. She deserves better. I'll clear out tonight and take my chances with the law. Turn around, rat! It's the Mafia. Big Tony wants his space photos. I'm not joking. They also think he's had a change of heart. He's there to marry this woman and go straight. Everybody thinks that anybody who wants to marry Sally is just for her money. But as they have a confrontation, the Selwyn estate proves to once more be not a safe place, and the ledge gives way. The two goons die right away, but Ned needs to hang on because he has to explain his motivation to Superman, who got there too late. Did he really try? I have questions. But we need to know now, why does he hate Superman? Well, the thing is, the plastic surgery, it ruined his life. After he got it, everyone made fun of him for looking like Superboy, but not being as impressive in any way as him. That creep can't even lift that barbell. Is it a cuckoo bird? Is it a crummy kite? No, it's a super weakling. That's it, life of crime. Before long, I hated to look in the mirror. Everyone's making fun of me because I've got Superboy's face, but not any of his powers. He's admired, I'm mocked. I hate my life. I hate Superboy. I hate him. I'll get even with him someday. I ran away from Smallville. Began to... Whoa. He still lived in Smallville after this? A place where you saw Superboy all the time? That changes things. How did Clark feel about this boy running around with his face? That would have jeopardized his secret identity so much. Also, staying there astronomically increased the chance that he would be made fun of. Well, it's too late to think about any of those choices now because he's dying. His dying wishes. Please don't tell Sally that he was such a heel. And Superman actually has a moment of well, what if he just didn't? No one was here. No one would know. No one saw. But Superman comes back with,
Jim was killed while saving you from gun-happy prowlers. Oh no, Jim dead. It can't be true. I won't believe it. This must be some cruel joke. He couldn't have entered my life again after I thought him dead, just to die suddenly like this. Jim is dead. He died so I could live, but I don't want to live without him. Goodbye, Sally. I wish I could tell you the truth. I'd give anything if I were free to marry you, a girl who loves me for myself. But the way those mobsters tried to kill you has convinced me more than ever that no girl I marry will be safe from my enemies. If we got married, I might come home someday and discover Sally murdered.
there was always the option to marry her as Jim. We didn't explore that. No one thinks Jim is Superman. Or is he still thinking that he would get married as Superman and his wife would be Mrs. Superman? Is that still his fantasy? He just really doesn't want to pay for a tux? At the very least, have a line of reasoning be that he can't go up his life as Clark or something. Off into the universe flashes Superman, seeking solace amidst the enigmatic vastness of the cosmos.
Gotta get away from Earth for a while and try to forget the irony that I, the most envied man on Earth, can't marry the woman I love because I'm Superman. Perhaps it won't always be like this. I'll keep fighting for justice. I'll help others. How ironic, mighty Superman can help everyone, but when it comes to my own happiness, I can't help myself.
Though you're dead, Jim, you'll always be alive in my heart. Is this the end of Superman's hopeless love for Sally Selwyn? Or will fate, in its mysterious ways, make this be only the beginning? Bring back Lois trying to ruin his life. It hurts less. That is such a downer ending. Superman, the Man of Steel, can't find anyone to appreciate the man. His Superman hang-ups got in the way. The status quo must be maintained. No marriage for the Man of Steel. Not yet. The way he just crushes her at the end, though. This poor woman will never love again. The first time she thought Jim killed himself, and now she thinks he died saving her. The issues that would give you. Now, as to where I thought this was going at first, I thought Ned was gonna have a change of heart and reform and decide, you know what? If he can't be Superboy, if he can't be Ned, he could be Jim. Because you know what? She fixed him. And then Superman would not really have been in a position to tell anybody that he was gym. There would be no way for him to have an in, and also he would have seen that Sally is happy, and there would have been a tragedy to this life that he had forgotten, but now remembered, but could not have. And Ned would get that second chance to be actually a good man, despite his foolish decision to make himself look like Superman. And Clark and him can never be together in a room, ever. Because the story stresses several times that Ned's not a murderer. It has lines such as, oh, at least he's not a murderer. So it seemed like maybe they were setting him up for being able to have some happiness. Maybe the code could let it pass, and Sally could have had a slightly happy, if morally conflicting ending. Now we just have the moral conflict and sadness. It's not a good set of stories to be Sally. Justice for Sally, who fell prey to the plot and some period typical treatment / writing. They set up that threequel trilogy, but it wasn't to be. Maybe Sally's someone they could just randomly bring back. Let's have Lori's back. Let's have Sally come back. These stories, they won't be for everyone. Some won't enjoy the melodrama or may find it contrived or cruel or too of its time in terms of some of the social mores and the conventions around gender roles. However, if one engages with it, there is a lot of interesting things to explore, both under the surface, on the surface, and just in general. It's pretty entertaining how it just goes for it. These stories go hard. And there are some nice Superman moments in terms of the Clark and Superman relationship, how he conceives of himself, what he wants. It's more complex in these two stories than you always get in the Silver Age. And this story really sells the whole Clark is at the core heroic, whether he has powers or remembers being Superman or not, which is a nice moment. The way that shines through and allows someone to truly fall in love with him. It's almost genuinely romantic before it dovetails into being tragic, because it's one of those things that even as you're reading it, SS or secret hidden middle double L aside, you know it cannot be, because it's gonna have to go back to the same. And most people would want it to. That would drastically alter the story if he stayed and married Sally. Now, Sally is a little on the perfect side, veering towards doormat, especially in the second story, but she's ride or die, and there are some interesting things one could do with her if one took the story a little further. Is the first story or the second story worse for Sally? Which fate or sadness is worse, or is it even a competition? Just all sad. Still, these two stories, they stand out in terms of various Silver Age Superman romances that he's had. There's an extra amount of passion in them, for better or for worse. Unless you're Superman, always the groomsman, never the groom. All of these are just my thoughts, and I want to hear yours. I very much enjoyed talking about these stories, and I hope that you enjoyed hearing about them. If you're a member, there's another vote for you to go check out. Very excited to see what ends up winning. If not, please consider doing all the YouTube things. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification so that you never miss a vid. Thanks so much for taking some time to spend discussing comics with me. I always appreciate it, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.